Welcome to the Customer Catalyst Conference 2021, to our session focusing on customer co-creation with Johnny Castrup, Digital Product Director, Head of LEGO Ideas, LEGO. LEGO has developed the most fascinating co-creation program. It involves superfans, thousands of contributors, mass voting on ideas, product development, and, of course, significant risk and reward. Johnny speaks with Daniel Borsa about how customer co-creation works and the astonishing achievements at LEGO.
So welcome, Johnny Castrup, Head of LEGO Ideas. Nice to see you today.
Very good to be here. Thank you.
So you're joining from LEGO headquarters in Denmark. Tell us a little bit about your role at LEGO Ideas and how you became the head of LEGO Ideas.
All right. So I joined the LEGO Group 4 years ago, and I have been with the LEGO Ideas digital product and website for the last 3 years of those. Before coming to the LEGO Group, I spent, I feel like a couple of decades developing digital products. So I come from the engineering side. So I used to be a software developer and eventually a technical program manager, and then moving increasingly, I guess, into the business end. So at this point, I find myself managing a team of a couple of handful of people doing both digital development as well as the operations and engagement and all the things that it takes to serve a community.
And I know that we've got people dialing in from America, Europe, Asia. Everyone knows the LEGO brand for its amazing creativity, but just tell in your own words sort of who LEGO is and who LEGO Ideas is.
So LEGO Ideas is where the LEGO Group meets creative fan creators, a big community around us who really care about building and ideating and being creative with the LEGO brick. So we come together with LEGO Ideas and we try to make what they can think of into reality. And that's really what LEGO Ideas is about. So we, in a very literal sense, we connect with fans and then we create products that we put on shelves to the benefit of consumers worldwide. So it's a very, very exciting job.
And I know we're going to come on to how you listen to the customers, and it's really led by customers in terms of the culture. So in some of the other sessions, we talk about customer-led culture, voice the customer, advocacy. But I think it's really exciting what you're going to share with us today about how all of those boundaries are blurring. But perhaps first, before we get into that, tell us about LEGO Ideas' track record in co-creating.
Absolutely. So we have brought, I think, 35 products to this date into the market, successfully launched since the first one in 2011. I would believe that 34 out of those 35 products have performed over-index in terms of the consumer satisfaction as well as commercial contribution of products for the LEGO Group. So it has been a surprising and very welcome success and very validating for the perspective that there is value to create together with the community out there as an open company.
So, I mean, this is really true customer-led growth. And I think, put that into context for people. So what is the industry average for, co-created products?
So I know that for open innovation projects in general and for this kind of product, I do believe that it's maybe 1 in 20 that are successful. So comparing to that rate, it's really, really amazing. Of course, we are well helped by having a big community of very engaged fans and very capable fans. And I mean, the product itself I believe it lends itself very well to by its very nature to the creative work that the community can do. I mean, it's built into the brick as a medium that you create your own things. So I think that's probably a big driver of where we are compared to industry index, I would say.
But I mean, even in terms of normal new product development without co-creating with customers, even just to get that anywhere near that track record. But when you're doing it with customers that are driving it is quite phenomenal. You're almost like you're nearly double the industry average in terms of bringing co-created products to market. So tell us a little bit more about who your community is at Lego Ideas.
Yes. All right. So Lego Ideas has been around for a decade. We have currently 2 million registered users on Lego Ideas. There are multiple, you could say, sub-segments that are all important for the logic of the thing to work. So we have the creators themselves. So these are people who create a product, and I'll have to explain as I do this a little bit how the Lego Ideas process works. So as a creative designer, you'll come to Lego Ideas with your idea for a product. You submit it, and then starts a journey of for some a couple of years, for some 14 days, of garnering 10,000 supporters for your project. So of course this is not an easy thing to do. So you need to be creative.
Just pause there a minute. Getting 10,000 likes effectively from your broader Lego community. I mean, that's quite something to do that. So, tell us about how people do that.
So I would say that it depends very much on the idea, and we can maybe get into that a little bit. But for the average product idea, it's by far the most of them do not make that 10,000 mark. It's less than 1% that get to that point. But when they are successful, they typically connect. Either they have just an amazing original idea, something that the world hasn't seen before, and they're able then to connect with the community already on the platform, of course. So they will see and do product like idea improvement suggestions. They'll comment, they'll interact, and they themselves, then the community on platform will share the project onwards in their social circles, of course. So that has a bit of a viral aspect to it. Also, the creators may be more deliberate, more strategic with their with selecting channels like Reddit channels or Facebook groups for topics that they connect with. We will be able to show you a few examples a little bit later, but where you connect both with an intellectual property that's already out there and a community around that. That certainly is a strategy for all of this is for us really about the validation. So there is, of course, the crowd sourcing element of the fan creators submitting and their ideas, starting the crowd projects. But very much for us, the value lies in the crowd validation, because those 10,000 people who come in and support the idea, get excited about it, they're validating that there is a market, of course, but then they're also helping spread the word. And in that sense, there is already a marketing story and a halo of something interesting happening at the edges of the brand, which is already out there, and that drives, of course, interest and attention, desire.
And that's really sort of customer advocates validating the whole. Is there a market for it? Is that going to fly? And tell us how that process has changed during COVID, because presumably it was via your website and it was a digital process before anyway, or?
Yes, so it's been digital from the ground up. It's when it started, I think a decade ago. It was an experiment on a Japanese-only platform called Lego Kuso. We moved into international space, so to speak, and made the global platform in, I believe, 2014. And so it was digital from the beginning. The Lego community of adult fans has been very digital. I think we have a decent share of engineers and very capable creatives and people who saw the vision of the internet and the possibilities very early as a community. So there have been online communities back since the mid-90s, and we tapped into that. So for us, really what we saw during the early part of last year and into the rest of the year's phenomenal growth, where I think the key driver is that people had time at home. They didn't have to commute maybe, so and a lot of that time they poured into creating projects for Lego Ideas. We saw a massive growth in that, and also just people coming to visit or getting excited about projects. I imagine they probably spend a lot more time in social channels, and so that drove a lot of traffic and a lot of growth for us, to 200-300% on some of our key metrics. So a very significant boosting of the community and the energy, so to speak. So that's been very exciting for us, and of course also I would say challenging in that it used to be that maybe we had 10 to 12 ideas get to the 10,000 support mark in any review. We review 3 times a year, and then we select 3 to 4 products that to move onward every year with. And I guess those, it used to be from a pool of 50, and now it's from a pool of 200, 250 projects. So you could say that the platform is growing, the creators are connecting with us, and they're creating much more content, more designs that connect well with an audience. But then we have to pick which ones to go forward with as a company and put into our internal design processes and work through all the challenges of product development. Like if there's an intellectual property involved, you go talk to that company. Can you do it for legal reasons? Is it practical with the elements that you need? All the production aspects that are, of course, also very challenging. But that very funnel where we almost have too much creative energy that we aren't able to realize. So that's been an interesting challenge for us. So we've grown.
Your Lego Ideas was an early adopter of this whole digital co-creation process, but it sounds like what you're saying is that's obviously the digitization as expedited, and it's almost then looking at how do you manage that because the customer has taken even more control. So really interesting scenario.
Yeah, I think the digital has shown us that it scales very well, but as soon as it connects with physical, you meet some very real constraints in terms of production and things. And coming from a digital background myself, I've had to learn that I mean, it's a very real thing that our colleagues in product development and in the factories and hard choices have to be made when you move into the physical space. So digital helps scale, and it helps connect, and it helps the community connect with itself and define as a group who they are and what they're about. And then you meet the very real world of production, which is a different beast.
And practical. So you've talked us through the process where you get the 10,000 likes, you then look at the production constraints, and then that co-creation process comes back internally within Lego Ideas, where then that's the next step.
Yes. So we work with the fan designers, so they are connected with our internal design teams, and of course they have to juggle many different constraints. But we certainly do try to be respectful first and foremost of the fan design, but also add things that maybe we care greatly about that the fan designer might not care about, like child safety. Can somebody fall on top of a model mid-production and hurt themselves? So there are other constraints that we think about that the fan creator might not. So that's a process, of course. And then eventually when the product idea does mature and go through the production processes and end up on the shelves, we typically involve the fan designer again. So we do product signings where they, depending on where they live and what nearby shops are available. We arrange signings in the stores, and those are hugely popular, both with fans that certainly flock to the stores to have the assigned version of the set, and those are much treasured, of course. But then also for the fan designer, because that is really a moment of recognition and of fame, and I guess so apart from this, one thing is certainly the fame, the recognition, and that is nice, but they also receive 1% of the top line revenue of the sets. And I would say that, of course, we aren't able to share financial details exactly, but for some of them, it is really for that reason also a life-altering experience. But I would say that what they come back and talk to us about is very much the recognition, the thrill of seeing your product on the shelves in your local Lego store. These people are very engaged with the brand, and that's a very big moment for them. So it's fantastic.
The culmination then is almost, think of it like a book or a music launch in their city, so that's the physical culmination of this amazing co-creation. But would you say one of the secrets of your co-creation success is actually making sure that those creators share in the revenue rewards? So they get 1% is what you're saying?
Yes, I would say that is it is very important for us. The exact percentage, the model, I don't know. I think the key thing is that it is equitable, right? I mean, it is not the motivation. Money is an extrinsic motivation. It is the intrinsic motivation of recognition, of joy of creation, and so that's certainly driving people. But I feel that it is a key part that they also share in the value creation. Also because we prefer it that way. Yeah.
And can you talk to us a little bit more about how co-creation at Lego Ideas has evolved with the platform and so on?
Certainly. So of course we did talk a little bit about the growth, and it has certainly. It started 10 years ago as an experiment, and I would say that the experiment in the beginning, it was a little rough, I believe. This was before my time connecting with it, so I came into a success very much, but what I understand from my colleagues is that it's rough in the beginning, because you don't really know where does this fit in, how does it work very well, and then of course as it's grown, it's now a significant initiative. It's very successful. So then you move into a more mature stage, so to speak, and expectations are different, and experimentation is a little bit more risky perhaps, and so that's certainly been a change. We've seen initially the focus was very much on, I think very early on, it was creations that the fans very much did themselves, and we've seen that there is a huge potential in IP collaboration, so intellectual property collaborations, brand collaborations. So those brand alliances, that's something that's evolved. We've had some opportunities to see some very successful product lines grow out of a single Lego Ideas project, and that certainly is something new. I would also say that the interaction with the fan designers, the creators, has evolved over time. Initially, I think we weren't really. I think we've very much improved how we collaborate. So we've gotten better at bringing them very much into the process, and to enrich the entire process more so than maybe mostly the initial part earlier. Yeah.
And tell us about how that process has improved then. You said you've learned how to collaborate better and co-create better. What sort of one lesson would you say from that part?
I would say that a lesson is very much that, I mean, monetary compensation, certainly a thing, but I get the sense from them that they would very much trade that for the very unique experience of being part of that process and permeating the boundary of the company almost, right? So yes. being a part of that creation and being in a value creation process together, that's very, very rewarding for them. And I would say that's what we're increasingly recognizing, is that there are some things that cannot be bought, but which can be freely given and be rewarding for both parties. So we have focused very much on bringing them in where possible, sometimes physically, sometimes remotely, and interacting in the process. And it's a great. I think it's something that is very essential to be able to do, and very rewarding as part of the team as well.
So I think we're going to hear from two of your co-creators. So tell us about Steveguinness, one of your co-creators.
So Steve is, I think it's fair to say, very much an enthusiast. He's very creative. He's done a lot of different stuff. He has many different. A good deal of his business life is also the Lego brand and the Lego elements. He created the Lego typewriter, a very exciting project on Lego Ideas, and recently launched product, which is very cool. And Steve is just a great and very creative, very interesting person. So excited to let him speak for himself. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Steveguinness. I'm from Chester in the UK. I'm a teacher, and I'm the Lego Ideas fan designer for the typewriter set that you can see in front of me here. I had to wait a while to find out whether it was going to be chosen, but when it was chosen, I was absolutely over the moon. I got to then work with the Lego Ideas design team. Some meetings were online, but I did get the opportunity to go out to Billund in Denmark and actually meet the designers and work on the set together, which was fantastic. The whole process really has been a dream come true for me. I love making things.
And also there's another co-creator called Lindsey Tyag. So tell us about him.
So Lindy is the fan creator behind the Lego Voltron robot. So that's maybe not necessarily super known to people. It's a good example for us of a brand collaboration. Voltron is an animated TV series from the 80s. It has a wonderful 80s aesthetic, and it's about these 5 persons who maneuver and control a robot that's made of 5 parts. And so the set is also made of those 5 parts. But I would leave the word to Lindy to talk about his project. It's very great. Yeah.
So let's hear from them now.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Tyag from the Philippines, currently based in Malaysia, and I'm the fan designer of Lego Voltron, Defender of the Universe. This was a whole new experience for me, and I was able to be involved in actually designing a Lego set. I was especially excited when the team showed me the final design, including the box art, as well as some discussions on possibilities of what will happen during the launch. It was an unforgettable moment seeing it all come together and have my project become reality.
So those are some great examples of co-creators, but you've got thousands of co-creators. So tell us how you manage all of them.
So, of course, these two talented creators we just talked to, they're at the very, very pinnacle of skill and creative talent. I think we have literally, as you say, thousands of creators on the platform, and they're at various stages in their creative skill development. Some of them connect with an intellectual property or with a unique design that really hits off with the community and consumers. Some don't get it right the first time or the second time, so they need to work at it a little bit more. people are at different stages. And of course, at the beginning of that funnel, you have thousands of people. You're not able to be very personable. So we do various activities for them, so that we run weekly activities where they can practice their building skills. We allow people, or we help people to express themselves with toy photography, for example, which might have a little bit less of a barrier initially. So and we run contests, and so we do things that are maybe more encouraging for that earlier stage in the funnel. But of course, as you get closer to, so, and as I said, 99% do not get above, I want to say 1,000 supports. So it's really just when the top percent there, as you get closer to that, people getting to 10,000 supports, people get their project approved to go onwards. You need increasingly to build relationships and be empathetic and connect with them. So that's where the engagement switches to an one-to-one. So that the communication moves into email. You learn people's names. You have multiple calls with them. So that's an entirely different way of engaging. And you need to balance, I think, both. And you need to feel your way into where's the switching point, almost like at what point does it make sense to start engaging with people in a more direct manner, and at what point is it better to do activities at scale, I would say.
But also picking up from that, it's not just about Lego taking you're taking the best ideas and then you're letting people go. You've created a model where you're giving value back to them. So the workshops you talk about, you're not necessarily looking to give to receive. You're thinking far more holistically about how you can give value back to your consumers and your ecosystem.
I think for us, it's very key that the community was there before Lego Ideas. It exists certainly in other places. They are extremely creative. They are the talent, right? In open innovation, your crowd is your talent. So you should take the same care with them as you would with your employees, and you should certainly think about them in many of the same terms. And so, I don't think that it's. I mean, I believe that it is worth just supporting that community, because we firmly believe that as an open company, there is much value to be created. But it's really not about harvesting that. It is very much about realizing it. So making things real, that's the shared mission that we're on.
And so with that ecosystem of co-creators, what does Lego Ideas learn as a business from that?
So I think the key thing about having thousands of people working on designs and trying out various fandoms that they like to connect with, and building things that are new to the world and showing it to the world. Some of them are, it's a very difficult time for a creative person, I think, to show something to the world that you made and you don't know if they like it, etc. So there is, of course, on the platform, a loving community. But I think one of the things that we learn as a business, so the people on the platform, they represent, you could say, the customers that we are able to retain and engage with. They're already with us, so to speak. But then these guys also, when they explore the intellectual properties of other brands, and when they create their own creations and put them into the world, it's a search almost for products that want to become real, right? So they for us, they do a search function to explore thousands and thousands of possible collaborations, and they bring that to us and show us and say, look, this is something I think we could do. And then the rest of the community says, I think so too. And if enough people do that, it's like, yeah, we should probably try to make that real. And that's an amazing process. So I think we learn from it about opportunities to connect with passion points that we wouldn't otherwise ourselves with the limited hours in the day that our employees have, we wouldn't ourselves stumble upon, I think. So that's a very key thing that we learn from this, from listening to
basically your ecosystem of co-creators is your dynamic voice of the customer. That's what's feeding the new areas that you should be looking at and focusing attention.
Very much.
So an amazing story. Tell us how you're looking to adapt co-creation at Lego Ideas in the next couple of years. Is there any sort of key points you'd share with us?
So we certainly believe that our community is, I mean, they're very creative. We believe that they have more skills that they can apply, that they want to apply. We believe that we have a role to play together with them to make things real that are beyond products in a box, in the sense that we think about them now, because we do know that they are also artists in many different ways. They are engineers, they are business people, so good deal of entrepreneurs as well. And we believe that there are additional opportunities to as an open company, to create more things with them that aren't necessarily like products in boxes. So that's a future that we would try to explore, I should say, because that will be very early stages for us. But we've seen the growth of Lego Ideas from something very small to something that is significant for us. And I think that it would be natural to look to scale that horizontally into different arenas or different capabilities of the community, different desires of the community. So that is certainly something we're keen to explore further.
And can you mention a couple of other sort of brands that you've been working with? Because I know we talked about, individual creators like Steve and Lindy, but tell us about some of the other brands that you've co-created with them as well.
So my favorite examples from stuff that I have on the shelves at home. So certainly the NASA Saturn V rocket. That's a favorite of mine. So that's on my desk at home. It's an amazing example of something that really clicks for people. I don't want to call out favorites in the sense that, I mean, they're all great, but that one is on my desk at home. I really think it's amazing, and it connects. Like, as I said, we do have a lot of engineers on here, and the Lego elements and the exploration of space, that's very exciting to them. So a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to talk to one of the earlier participants in Lego Ideas, who created the Mars lander as a Lego set together with us, and he's also actually an engineer involved in the landing gear with NASA of the actual Mars lander. So that's an incredibly exciting opportunity to work with some extremely talented people. So that's one of the ones that I really like, and it's just a very cool, like, it's NASA. I mean, so that's amazing. Another one that I am fairly excited about is Minecraft, a computer game that I think most people who have kids would recognize, certainly, maybe even have dabbled with themselves. So that was initially we had a collaboration around Lego Ideas set. This was before my time, and it was just a single set, as a display model almost to have on your desk, and that evolved into an entire product line, really targeted towards a kids market more so than adult fans, and a year-long collaboration with Mojang for the Lego Group. So I think that's an interesting one from the perspective that it really turned into something. I think Lego Ideas is best at that very edge of, we don't know if something works or not, and then that ability to spark something that will last and grow into something else. That's certainly been very cool, I think, and I think it's a great fit. So it's a wonderful project to have on my desk as well.
Absolutely. So just bringing it to a conclusion. So if you're giving your top sort of one or two tips, you'll see change growth driver tips for whether it be a small, medium or large business, what would you say they should do in terms of co-creation?
So I would say what's been important for us is to align our objectives and our operating model with the community that we serve, because our community is a sounding board for us, and it's an ability. It's a way for us to serve them and for them to give us signals about what they would like us to do. And I think if your operating model isn't aligned with that, if your objectives and your compensation models, etc., aren't aligned with that, you might get in the way of yourself listening. And that's I think that it's very, very important to listen.
That whole outside in, absolutely, and that dynamic listening, that that whole digital ecosystem you've created, it's now possible. So definitely tapping into that. I would absolutely agree with you. Is there one other thing you would say?
I would say that this is a flavor, of course, of open innovation, and as such, it's rocky. I think that's the very nature, that you live on the edge of the company, and you need to, and I think that's healthy. I think you can overfeed open innovation projects with funding. It needs to be a little lean and a little hungry, but you need to also be able to be a little bit, it can be rocky, right? So, and it's not so easily forecast. So there's a little bit of risk appetite needed. And I would say in that sense also, the way you think about your brand, I think you need to be a little bit brave. We recognize that there's value to be had as an open company, and being open to our community of co-creators. They know our product at least as well as we do. And they will take ownership. I mean, they care passionately about this, and with that passion comes them making it their own. And you need to be able to cope, I think, with that. And that's a challenge, and occasionally, I imagine, uncomfortable. It's worked out great for us, but I think you need to be brave and be open. Yeah. Amazing.
I absolutely agree. And in terms of what we say in the book about having your customer-led values, customer-led culture, where you're willing to be open and listen, and that creates new markets that you've absolutely talked about, and also being equitable as well with your consumers in your case. So Johnny Castrup, head of Lego Ideas, thank you very much for sharing your co-creation story. Amazing.
Thank you for having me.